So I want to first introduce our main attraction today, our host, Frederick Trudeau, who is the VP of Engineering here at Pelco. So I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Madison. So hello, everyone. Welcome and thanks for being here. As you may have guessed by now, I am a French Canadian. So I've been in the industry for almost 25 years now. So as such, I'm in context of the topics that we will discuss today. So it all started for me in the mid 90s when the internet became a thing. And at the time, I just became curious and interested about it. It led me to have multiple jobs touching multiple areas. So technical support agent for a internet service provider in Montreal, network administrator, programmer using the PHP language. At the time, it was version 3. It's now version 8. I ran a successful business with a partner and worked in 2 web agencies. And finally acted as a freelance developer and consultant starting approximately 2015. So it was in August 2018 when Michael found my profile on LinkedIn and just dropped me an email saying Pelco was looking for a senior software engineer. So as I'm always curious about startups in general, and that I really like them, I just met the founders and we met in a cafe in Montreal. And that's where I fell in love with the guys and of course, Pelco's mission as well. So another journey began for me at that time, and here am I now hosting my first ever webinar, actually.
Amazing. Well, we're happy to have you.
Happy to be here.
And so I wanted to just give everyone a little bit of an overview so you can get an idea of what to expect in today's session. So today we're going to be talking firstly about how fraud can ruin your business, going over a few major case studies that you may have seen in the news over the past decade or so. Then we're going to be talking about just the types of fraud that you can find and what you should look out for. So how to spot fraud online, what are some of the red flags? So we're going to be going over that. And finally, we're going to be going into some security checklists, best practice. So what you and your team can implement in your business, make sure you're doing to make sure that your business is as secure as possible. So, and then lastly, we'll be going into what you should be looking for a technology provider when you are, managing your subscription business via a third-party provider. You're going to want to make sure some of these key security features are in place, and we're going to be letting you know what those are. So yeah, before we get started, also, I would like to just give a really, really brief intro about what Pelco is for those of you that don't know. So Pelco is, of course, an enterprise class subscription and membership management platform. So we have clients from all over the world, in really diverse industries such as media, SaaS, wellness, subscription boxes, e-learning, and so much more. And our mission is really to drive new opportunities for businesses online by really providing a simple solution for reoccurring payments and plans. So, like everyone, we obviously know the power of the reoccurring revenue model. So this is why we have designed Pelco in order to make it really simple for companies to provide that subscriber experience that is really seamless, user-friendly, and ultimately inspires loyalty at the end of the day. So that's what we're all about in a nutshell.
Nice.
So just to kick things off, we'll do a quick poll question as we are curious on your general sentiment about fraud. So I will launch the poll. So do you think fraud poses a threat to the survival of your business? So either absolutely, not really, people are exaggerating, possible but unlikely, or yes, we are well aware and have taken certain steps to combat fraud. So we'll give you just a couple of seconds to answer, and then we'll take a look at the results. Okay. So yeah, as we can see, everyone is well aware, has taken steps, and is obviously trying to take it one step further by attending these learning sessions to become even better at their security practices. So at this point, I will pass it over to Fred.
Thanks. All right, thanks, Madison. So how can fraud really impact your business? So let's review two very real and very famous cases. There you go. So in 2007, Yahoo was a $50 billion company. In 2017, Yahoo was sold to Verizon for 4.48 billion. So what happened there? So at least two data leaks and late disclosures by Yahoo is what happened. So in 2013, an attack on Yahoo's network affected 1 billion accounts. In 2014, another attack affected 500 million accounts. And these disclosures were by Yahoo, these were disclosed by Yahoo only in 2016. And the extent of the personal information leaked is actually massive. So we're talking about names, emails, phone numbers, date of birth, security questions and answers, but most importantly, passwords that were encrypted with a security that was easy to crack. So an already struggling Yahoo at that time managed to sell itself to Verizon at 90% of its 2007 valuation. But as you can imagine, the deal was nearly derailed following the disclosure. So not only did that cost Yahoo hundreds of millions of dollars in legal fees, but the fallout continued to this day. In late 2017, Verizon had to admit that every user who had a Yahoo account in August 2013, at the time of the first attack, was actually affected by this leak. So we're talking about a total of 3 billion users, which is obviously extremely massive. Another case is the one of Epsilon. So 2011, it was a multi-billion-dollar email marketing firm. And 10 years later, it was acquired by Publicis for 3.9 billion. So what happened here is that it was Epsilon was hacked in 2011. What was stolen at this time is our names, email addresses, and other metadata information like reward points, for instance. So what is so concerning about this? Well, as a matter of fact, Epsilon at that time handled more than 40 billion emails annually for more than 2,000 global brands. So as a fallback of this, countless people were likely duped by phishing attack scams, which will be explained more in details later, actually. So why talk about these big cases at all? So, well, the matter of fact is that, as a matter of fact, the size of your business doesn't change a thing here. So, you can all be target of these type of frauds. That's why you need to be aware of them. So let's examine two of the most common type of frauds that actually might affect you. So first up is card not present fraud, or CNP for short. As the name suggests, this fraud occurs when the fraudsters do not have physical access to the payment card itself, the payment information. So typically this happens after payment information was stolen or acquired on the dark web. The full name, the card number, obviously, and the security code at the back, in the case of a credit card, for instance. So these type of fraud can be made by phone, email, but mainly online transactions. So in order to test the validity of the payment information that was stolen, Fraudsters attempt to perform very small transactions on the card itself. So if the transaction succeeds, they know the card is valid. So afterwards, they go ahead and purchase the latest iPhone 14 Pro Max Plus or whatever floats their boat. But obviously, it's not efficient to do this process manually for every card. So what they do is build scripts which uses very well-known automation tools that will interact directly with your website in order to create fake customers and try to subscribe to one of your plan or purchase one of your product, for instance. So this process can be difficult to spot or even block because they are usually trying to mimic the behavior of the real end user as much as possible to avoid detection. And they make sure the bot themselves, the scripts, are running in different networks, so it cannot be easily blocked on the network level by IP address, for instance. So this is an automated practice that is called card testing. So how costly is CNP? So here are some facts. It's by far the primary source of card fraud. It represents 75% of all of them. In the US alone, card testing results in an annual loss of over $10 billion. And research shows that approximately 10 to 13% of all cardless online purchases may actually be fraudulent. And finally, the card testing practice that we just talked about has seen a 200% increase in Q1 2021. So as more and more businesses transitions to being subscription-based, this fraudulent practice is definitely here to stay. Next up, we have fake account creation, or FAQ. This is another fraudulent practice that is here to stay. As a matter of fact, it's primarily a consequence of card testing itself, because fraudsters usually must create a fake account before attempting to subscribe or purchase anything. And this is a cause of concerns for a number of reasons. In today's world, data quality and integrity is everything. If fake accounts are not addressed, they will mess up with accurate analytics on your side, precise forecasting as well, and also efficient targeting. So here are there a few negative effects that fake accounts can have on your subscription business. If you're planning on running ads on your website, for instance, they will be devalued once the media buyer knows that you have fake accounts on your system. Marketing efforts will also be hindered, and customer acquisition costs will skyrocket because fake accounts do not qualify as MQLs. And your reputation will likely suffer in front of users, both current ones and new ones, as well as your advertisers, affecting your overall income. All right, so time for a second poll. All right, so how would you approach fraud in your business? We have a team of professionals who take care of things in-house. We don't really do much unless we are under attack, very proactive. We currently are outsourcing other company to take care of our security. We have insurance, or we did not give it much thought. I'll give you a couple of seconds to answer. All right. All right, thanks. So we have insurance. All right. Well, yes, it can protect you, definitely. Obviously, that's why they're in the first place. But what about being proactive about it, right? All right, so let's continue. I can find my key. All right, now that you know that what fraud can do to your business, we can examine some ways in which you can actually be proactive to actually spotting it. Fraud comes in the form of scams. We'll examine 3 types of scams that you or someone else in your organization can be the target of. So yeah, first off, here's a quick guide of the general tactics used by fraudsters in general. So to explain that, I'd like to share you a personal story. So as the youngest and most technical savvy of our 3 children, my 70 years old mother uses the red phone pretty regularly when she encounters a technical problem or when she asks questions about the internet. So she calls me about a month ago saying she received a message from a hacker who has gained full control of her computer via a Trojan horse, or so he said. The message itself from the hacker was actually an image with a pitch black background and the red text as the foreground. So it was a little intimidating at first. In it, the hacker is saying he has full control of the computer, the camera, the microphone, has access to all password, contact information. And if a payment of $1,000 is not made within 50 hours time lapse, a compromising video of her will be leaked online. But don't ask me how this is possible because the computer of my mother is very old and there's no camera on it. But in any case, of course, the payment was to be made in Bitcoin as well, which is untraceable. So you see, it literally checked all the boxes there. A sense of urgency, intimidation and fear, the imaginary deadline, and of course, the untraceable payment method. So this scam was easy to dismiss because it was easy to spot. But some fraudsters will take very great care in their targeting in order to maximize their chances in putting their hand on valuable information, whether it's about you or about your business. Actually, in your context, they will be more interested in passwords, obviously, but also contact information, emails, access to external social media accounts, external third-party vendors that you are using, or any other type of information about your business, which might be sensitive or even not for that matter. So in order to gain this information, fraudsters will sometimes use these tactics in the context of scams. That's what we will talk about next. The first one is phishing, as in fish. So this is the practice of sending fraudulent emails that appear to come from a source that you know and trust. So remember the case of Epsilon there? This is likely what happened to 10 of thousands of people as a fallback for this. So phishing can lead to multiple undesirable outcomes. Obviously, we're talking about identity theft, account takeover, installation of fraudulent applications, and session hijacking, which could potentially lead to kernels getting hold of the company, of your company's data. So here are 2 examples of what a phishing email might look like. On the left side, you have an email from the National Security Department. So you have the logo, you have the branding, and it's saying that there's a vulnerability. And if you click on the yellow button there, what will likely happen is that you will end up on a website faking still the branding of the NSD, same logo, same font, same colors and everything, and then a form asking you to log in. And obviously at that point, if you enter your Apple ID credentials, they will get stolen. In the second example on the right, assume your business is dealing with an organization called Supreme Invoicing System, and that the scammer are aware of that. As a matter of fact, they might even be aware of your first name and last name in your email, so they could really pinpoint and frame the targeting in a fashion that is enticing for you to click. So same story here. If you click on the button to log in into the system, you will have a form with the same branding as Supreme Invoice. you will be asked to obviously enter your credentials. And then if you submit your credentials to attempt to log into the system, you will most likely have an error message saying that the system is temporarily disabled, or there's a temporary error, try again later. But at the moment, obviously, your credentials were also stolen. So a few quick rules here. Don't open any emails if you don't recognize the sender's name or domain. And pay attention to the front name and addresses there. Sometimes they can be forged and sometimes they are not. Also, don't click on links in emails or open any attachments unless you are sure that the sender is actually trustworthy. But if you do click, take a moment to check the website's address in the address bar of your browser. One thing scammers cannot fake is the actual domain name. So going back to the Supreme invoicing system there, if you know that the domain name there is supremeinvoice.com, the URL, the address bar will not contain supremeinvoice.com. This is not fakeable. So be extremely cautious, finally, when an email or website tells you that you need to install an add-on or download and install anything at all, for that matter. All right, so next up is phishing, smishing, sorry. Smishing is an attack that mainly uses text messaging in the goal of obtaining information. So a very, very common example of this is a text message that appears to come from your banking institution, for example. So telling you that your account has been compromised and that you need to react immediately. So in this case, the attacker asks you to verify your identity, which he might already possess, and social security number, as well as your bank account number. So what does smishing might look like? So here are 3 examples. So on the left side, you have a text from the IRS, no less. In the middle, you have a text from Apple support. And on the right side, you have a text from FedEx asking you to check, to set up your delivery preferences. So some of you may laugh instantly seeing and receiving one of these, immediately knowing it's a scam. Fair enough, but there's a reason why smishing is still the thing in 2022. It can actually work. See how the same sorry, tactics we talked about are used here. So SMS from banks, DMV, IRS, and many other institutions can actually induce fear in people, forcing them to react by opening up these links, thinking they're in some sort of trouble. And finally, we have the Vishing scam. So here is a situation you might be too familiar with. You are in a Netflix and chill mode on a rainy Sunday. Your phone rings, you do not recognize the number, but it's in your area code, so you just pick up. On the other end of the line is a very robotic voice telling you that your bank account has been compromised and that you need to act immediately by pressing the pound key or #1 on your keypad to talk with someone. So I'm pretty sure this rings a bell. This was a thing at the start of the year in North America, actually. So this is these phone scams or voice phishing scams are called Vishing. For businesses, Vishing scammers are more likely to put a real person on the line from the start. The scammers may warn you about fraudulent or suspicious bank transfer or pretend to be someone from IT. The goal there is still to coerce you into giving you personal information, giving up personal information, financial information, or even gain remote access to your computer by instructing you to visit a specific website while telling you on the phone to access a very specific website. So a few things to note. If you feel pressured to make an immediate decision over the phone, just hang up. Never go to any website nor click on any link that is provided you over the phone. And never give out personal information over the phone or the internet for that matter. For context, neither banks nor the government will ever ask you for these type of information. All right, so let's now talk about some of the best practices related to security. We'll focus on 4 of them. First, making sure that your website's traffic is encrypted. The use of unique passphrases and strong passwords. The idea of conducting a security risk assessment for your business. And finally, making sure your team is well informed and trained. So we'll examine these more in details one by one. All right, first up, I assume everyone on this call already heard of SSL certificates. We should actually call them TLS certificates, TLS being a more recent version of SSL. As of version 1.0 of TLS, which was released in 1999, it replaced version 3 of SSL, which was released itself in 1996. What's at the heart of TLS is a hashing algorithm. The current industry standard being SHA-256, which stands for Secure Hash Algorithm 256. So in a nutshell, it's used for message, file, and data integrity verification, making transfers between your website or your system and your end users secure. But how secure? How secure is SHA-256 to be more precise? So for context, nobody has cracked it so far. And the reality here is that with the current technology, you would need unlimited time and resources to be able to do it. That is why Bitcoin Network is currently using it. And that's why it's also using TLS certificates. So before you ask, of course, access to Pelco's platform is encrypted end-to-end. The screenshot that you see on the right in the slide is actually the TLS certificate that is used on our platform. We also enforce the latest TLS 1.3 protocol for some of our endpoints, which offers enhanced security, speed, and efficiency over TLS 1.2. Important point to note here is that anything below TLS 1.2 is currently considered insecure. TLS 1.0 and 1.1 were both planned for deprecation in 2020, but because of the COVID pandemic, browser vendors decided to continue supporting them and postponing this deprecation. The idea there is to making sure that as much people as possible would have access to as much sites as possible during the pandemic, just to make sure to have a wider access to information, because a lot of websites currently are not aligning with the latest protocols of TLS. So pro tip, ask your team to install an extension in their browsers that forces the secure HTTPS protocol. One such extension is called HTTPS Everywhere. I believe it is possible to install it on Chrome, Edge, and Firefox. It is free, it is safe, and it will protect you from many forms of surveillance, as well as account hijacking. Right, now a little bit more on the topic of strong passwords and passphrases. On this topic, they all share the same characteristics. Both passphrases and strong passwords share these characteristics. So they must be unique. They must be at least 10 characters long. They must contain a mix of letters, lowercase, uppercase, special characters, and numbers. They must be changed at regular intervals, and as a bonus, they are not to be stored anywhere but in your head. More on that later, but first, a few examples of good strong passwords and some examples of bad passwords. All right, what you see here in the list of do's is passwords that checks all the required criteria for very strong passwords. So they are unique because they were generated with a tool with a very high entropy. These examples are actually 24 characters long, And they obviously contain a mix of uppercase, lowercase, letters, numbers, and special characters. On the right, as 2022, as of today, what you see here is a list of passwords that are in the top 10 of the most commonly used password by people around the world. This is still a thing in 2022. So I'm sure this makes some security experts shed some tears of sorrow sometimes. So pro tip, to generate your strong password, use a tool like Perfect Passwords. Just Google it, perfectpasswords.com, I believe. It's an online generator which provides a very high level of entropy, of randomness. If you do need to store your passwords and share them with your colleagues, which is often the case, do it securely. Consider using a tool such as Dashlane for this. And finally, do implement and enforce a security policy in your business to force everyone to change their passwords at a fixed intervals. Every 2 to 3 months is currently considered a good practice. All right, so yeah, the safest password, as I said, is will always be the one that you can only you can know, and which will never be stored anywhere but in your head. That's why I personally think that the concept of passphrases is magical. They can be a lot longer than passwords and easier to remember than a random strings of characters because they are linked to things that are personal to you. So full disclosure, I was born in 1997 and my grandmother's first name is Cecile. So I came up with this base passphrase here, which I will read. I was born in 1997 and my grandmother's first name is Cecile. Fair enough. In order to transform this base passphrase into an actual usable passphrase, we'll go to step 1 there. We'll get rid of spaces and capitalize the first letter of each word. You can read it on the screen. And as a final step, what I did there is replace some letters by numbers or special characters. So I replaced I's by 1, I replaced O's by 0, I replace the capital A by an @ sign, and I throw in an exclamation mark at the end. This passphrase in the final form is actually very secure because it actually fits all the criteria of a very strong password. The thing is, it's easier to remember. I would actually urge you to try it. You will be surprised by the number of different passphrases that you will be able to remember using this technique. Right, so do you know, in the context of your business, how susceptible to fraud you are? So if not, now might be a good time to conduct a security assessment with a reputable and unbiased external firm to answer the question. After the assessment is complete, you'll know what needs to be done, and you obviously will be able to take action. And finally, make sure your team is well informed and trained. Knowledge is power. You are in a position to raise awareness in your business and take action. So educate your team on various types of frauds and scams that they could be the target of. This is crucial. So do share your newly acquired knowledge here with them so that they can be aware of the risks and react accordingly. All right, finally, here are just a few basic features to look for in a technology provider. Your email verification is just one of them, right? This will force end users to validate their account before being able to subscribe, which will keep your data quality and integrity in check. Strong password policy is one of them, and two-factor authentication. Both of them will keep your admin's account safe and maybe collaborator account safe. And then as immediate consequences of that will protect your data. And of course, you won't be surprised to learn that Pelco has these security features already integrated within its platform and then some. The latest addition is our aptly named fraud prevention system, in which a feature called risk assessment was recently integrated. So when enabled, a risk assessment will perform an analysis automatically from the end users interacting on your website via our custom UI. And based on the history of these interactions, compared also against Google's reCAPTCHA Enterprise Hemmings data points across billions of interactions on similar websites, the system will determine if the request is at risk of being fraudulent. Then it's up to you to determine if you want to block incoming requests for certain risk levels, or just continue gathering data without rejecting. All of this is obviously easily configurable in our platform, and based on comments from our clients and our own analysis, it proved to be very, very effective to prevent both fake accounts creation as well as card testing. All right, so there you have it. We have a final poll for you. If you are interested in learning more about Pelco, I have questions about security and how Pelco can help you in that matter. Or if you just want to reach out to me, answer please, yes, please. And we'll get back to you. All right.
Perfect. And now is when we'll also take any questions that you have. If there's anything that you wanted additional clarity on that you were learning about during this session, now's your time to just enter them into the Q&A box or the chat, and we can address them live if anybody has any pressing questions. We'll just give you around 2 minutes to think about it. If not, we'll wrap up today's session.
Don't be shy. All right.
Perfect. It looks like everybody has learned all they can and maybe is overwhelmed with the amount of knowledge shared today. So again, I want to thank you for joining us. It's been a really great session, and thank you, Fred, for sharing all of your years of wisdom that you've built up. Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. So thank you for joining us, and follow us along on social, and look out for future webinars.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Madison.
Thank you.